Who could have told Miriam that one day her sister would steal her husband? She would have called it a lie, never believing such a thing could happen.
Miriam had always been the responsible, practical one. She was the type of woman who dressed modestly, who valued family, respect, and responsibility above everything else. Her sister, Imani, on the other hand, was the center of attention wherever she went. She was stunningly beautiful, with curves that seemed to attract every pair of eyes in the room. Imani had always used her looks to her advantage, and she loved being admired. Growing up, the two of them were very different. Miriam was the bookworm, the one who worked hard to achieve everything she had. Imani was the free spirit, the one who was more interested in clubbing, partying, and wearing clothes that drew attention. Imani's style had always been revealing. She had no qualms about wearing tight clothes that accentuated her curves, clothes that showed more skin than most would consider appropriate. It wasn't unusual for her to wear local tops or short skirts, even when they were at home. Despite their differences, Miriam always felt protective of Imani. They were sisters, after all, and Miriam loved her with all her heart. Even if they had different priorities, they shared a bond that no one else could understand. After graduation, life seemed to go in completely different directions for the two sisters. Miriam's dedication to her studies paid off. She landed a high-paying job at a prestigious company, eventually rising to the position of managing director. She had worked hard for everything she had, a successful career, a beautiful home, and a husband she adored. Musa was her rock, the love of her life. They had been together for years, supporting each other through thick and thin. She couldn't imagine life without him, but Imani's life had taken a different path. While Miriam was climbing the corporate ladder, Imani was struggling. She had never seemed to find her way. She bounced from one failed job to the next, partying, and chasing the next man who would pay her bills. Her money came from men. Older men, richer men, married men. Men who didn't mind throwing cash her way just to feel her attention for a night. Miriam, though proud of her own achievements, always tried to help Imani. She would offer advice, give her money when she needed it, and even try to set her up with some of her friends to help her find a stable job. But Imani never seemed to be interested in working hard for a future. Imani called one evening, her voice heavy with tears. Between the trembling words, she understood what had happened. Imani's ex-boyfriend had thrown her out of his house, leaving her with nothing. He had told her to leave and never return. She had nowhere to go, no money. No matter how careless Imani had been. She was still her sister. She couldn't bear the thought of her sister being stranded and helpless. It wasn't in her nature to turn her back on family. She believed she was doing the right thing, helping her sister in a time of need. She introduced her to Musa, who welcomed her warmly. They gave her the guest room, food to eat, and a little allowance to get her through the week. Miriam was genuinely happy to have her sister close again, but she had no idea that letting her sister in would destroy everything she had worked for. At first, everything seemed fine. Imani helped around the house, played with Miriam's kids, and smiled politely at Musa. At first, it was nothing more than the occasional joke or a comment here and there about how handsome he was. Musa, being the charming and polite man he was, would always laugh it off and move on. Imani began waking up earlier than everyone else, heading to the kitchen to prepare breakfast before Miriam was even out of bed. She made Musa's favorite dishes, set the table neatly, whenever he came downstairs. Miriam thought it was just her sister's way of showing gratitude, and she appreciated the effort, and also her dressing. She would walk around the house wearing tight clothes that hugged every inch of her curves, sometimes short, so short that it was embarrassing, sometimes tops that exposed half of her chest. Over the next few weeks, Imani stayed with Miriam and Musa. The first few days were full of smiles and hugs, as Miriam reassured Imani that everything would be okay. But slowly, things began to change. However, she began to feel uncomfortable. Imani would linger a little too long when she hugged him. Imani brushed it off, thinking it was all in her head. After all, her sister was just playful and always liked to flirt a little. When they were watching a movie, sharing snacks, and just enjoying each other's company, Imani, on the other hand, had plans to go out with her friends. But for some reason, she stayed home. She came into the living room dressed in a short, figure-hugging dress that made her look even more stunning than usual. She sat on the couch next to Musa, putting her arm around his shoulder as she laughed at something he said. Miriam dismissed the feeling, thinking that she was just being overly sensitive. Musa was always polite and kind, but the chemistry between him and Imani became undeniable. Miriam would come home from work to find them laughing together, talking late into the night, and sharing private moments that seemed more intimate than they should have been. Miriam didn't think much of it. After all, they were family. Imani had nowhere else to go. And Musa was simply being a good host. She looked over at Musa and noticed how close Imani had gotten to him. She was sitting right next to him, her knee brushing against his, her body angled towards him in a way that felt too intimate. Miriam had tried, gently at first, to set boundaries. She reminded her sister that this was a married home, that certain kinds of clothes could make her husband and children uncomfortable. She had always tried to tell Imani to dress more modestly. But Imani only laughed. To her, it was nothing serious, just another outdated opinion from her overly serious sister. She brushed the warning aside, insisting it was only fashion, that the world had changed and people dressed however they wanted. One day, when Miriam had gone to work and her kids were at school, Imani entered Musa's room wearing a short, tight dress. She kissed him and got into bed with him. This wasn't just a one-time thing, it had been happening for weeks. Musa even told her that she was more beautiful than Miriam. Later that day, Miriam forgot some important documents and decided to go back home to get them. When she walked in, the house was quiet. She went straight to the bedroom and opened the door, only to find Imani and Musa in her bed, together. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her own sister. She screamed, and both Imani and Musa immediately tried to cover up, but it was too late. Musa fell to his knees, begging for forgiveness. "Miriam, please. It wasn't me. It was the devil. She seduced me. Please, forgive me." But Miriam couldn't hear him anymore. She was too devastated to even look at him. "You did this with her. Why didn't you choose anyone else but my own sister? How could you? How could you do this to me? To us?" She had given him everything, her love, her devotion, her trust. Musa kept apologizing, but Miriam didn't care. She felt betrayed by both of them, the people she loved and trusted most. "I was lonely and you were always busy with work and the kids," it's been so long since we were close. But when your sister came, I couldn't resist her. She's so beautiful. Miriam couldn't even look at him anymore. Her eyes were filled with tears, but her heart was full of anger and hurt. You're a selfish, heartless man. I worked so hard to build this family, to be there for you. And this is how you repay me. You chose my sister. You couldn't even be loyal for a single moment. She began packing her things. I don't care if you marry her. But for the kids, they'll stay with me. They won't grow up in a house like this. Musa kept apologizing, but Miriam didn't care. She felt betrayed by both of them, the people she loved and trusted most. You wanted my life, didn't you? You always thought I had everything: perfect family, perfect man, perfect career. But you didn't see how much I sacrificed for all of it. You saw me as a way to get what you wanted, but you've broken me, Imoni. You're the real devil here. I've tried to help you, Imoni. I've always looked out for you. But you still betrayed me. I gave you everything I had, and this is how you repay me. Miriam shook her head, walking towards the door with her bags. Miriam, you had everything. The perfect life, the perfect man, perfect children. But I had nothing. I wanted your life, I wanted to feel loved, I wanted what you had. You don't understand. I sleep with men to get by. To survive. I have no job, no future, no one to love me. I've been struggling, Miriam. I'm almost 28, and I feel like I've wasted my life. But you had everything, and now I'm 2 weeks pregnant with your husband's child. Miriam stood frozen, the words hitting her like a tidal wave. Pregnant, you're carrying my husband's child. Miriam said she wanted to scream, to cry, to lash out, but her body was numb, as if the very core of her heart shattered. I never meant for this to happen, Miriam. But it did, and now I don't know what to do. I never had a chance, Miriam. I wanted what you had, I wanted love, I wanted security, and Musa gave me that. I couldn't resist. This was her sister, the one person she had trusted most in the world, and she had betrayed her in the most unforgivable way. How could you, Imoni, how could you do this to me? To your own flesh and blood. You never saw it, did you? You never saw how much I envied you, how much I hated living in your shadow. But now, I'm going to take everything you have. Everything you worked for, Miriam. You've always had it so easy, but you won't anymore. You think this child is your victory, but you have simply chained yourself to a man who is a liar and a cheat. You will be the new wife living in the shadow of the old, wondering when his next mistress will appear with his next child. I've tried to help you, Imoni. I've always looked out for you. But you still betrayed me. I gave you everything I had, and this is how you repay me. And tell Musa, tell him the lawyer will be in touch and he should wait for the divorce paper. Miriam shook her head, walking towards the door with her bags. I don't want anything from you anymore, she added. I'm taking my children. You can have Musa. He's not the man I thought he was. But it's my God that will judge you. She regretted ever bringing her sister into her home. The pain of betrayal was even sharper when it came from family. She had always believed that blood was thicker than water. That family was meant to be the ones who stood by you no matter what. But now, With her heart shattered and her trust broken, she realized just how wrong she'd been. Her own sister, the one she'd loved and cared for, had turned against her in the most unforgivable way. The very people you thought would protect you could be the ones to hurt you the most.